Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening: it's a day of volatility on the Lal Street as mixed global cues and fourth quarter earnings reports dominate sentiment. The Sensex and the Nifty end the day flat, both indices failing to hold on to their record highs hit in intraday trade. The Supreme Court refuses to direct the Election Commission to disclose final voter data within 48 hours as a hands-off approach is needed in the midst of elections. Also questions why the petition was being pressed when elections are underway and only 2 more phases are left. In earnings, Hindalco's net profit triples in the fourth quarter, aided by robust sales and low input costs. Ashok Leyland delivers a robust 20% jump in net profit. A strong demand for its medium and light commercial vehicles offset a one-time loss of 70 crores. 58 seats across 8 states and union territories go to the polls tomorrow. This includes the high-profile constituencies of Delhi. 889 candidates in the fray. Polling will also take place for 42 Odisha Assembly seats. High inflation and elevated interest rates hurt credit uptake in rural India. CNBC-TV18 analysis shows loan growth have declined in the second half of FY24. Microfinance institutions and small finance banks also report a rise in bad loans.
Neither Tesla nor I asked for these tariffs. In fact, I was surprised when they were announced.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk says he does not see the need for the Biden administration's 100% tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. Also disagrees with the need for tax incentives for EVs, says Tesla competes quite well in the market in China with no tariffs or differential support. The world may not get a digital dollar soon. The Republican-dominated U.S. House passes a bill prohibiting the Federal Reserve from creating a digital currency without Congress approval. The bill now heads to the U.S. Senate, where the Democrats are in majority. Leela Hotels is likely to hit the IPO market in 2024, says Brookfield Asset Management's Ankur Gupta. Also adds Brookfield aspires to make Leela a global brand. Bets big on the luxury segment. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. NP Singh to step down as the MD and CEO of Sony Pictures in India, says he will focus on social change and advisory roles. Adds he will continue to lead the company till his successor is identified and takes charge. A series of RTI replies reveals a grim picture when it comes to IIT placements. Over 7,500 students across 23 IIT campuses yet to find a job this year as both domestic and global giants hold back on offers. IIT Madras Placement Cell Advisor says nearly 20% of the students who applied for placements are yet to be placed. The death toll in the chemical factory explosion at Mumbai's Dombivli climbs to 10. Rescue operations underway as it is feared that more dead bodies remain trapped under the debris. The police has booked the owner and senior officials of Amudad Chemicals under charges including culpable homicide not amounting to murder. China tests its ability to seize power of Taiwan by encircling the island chain. Warships and fighter aircraft stage mock missile strikes as China's military drill enters the second day. China's defense minister says Taiwan's leadership is pushing the country into a perilous situation of war and danger. Warns China will go further if provoked. But before we get to all of these stories, let's take a closer check of the day's market action. It turned out to be another choppy day on the Lal Street as mixed global cues and Q4 earnings dominated sentiment. Indices rose to fresh record high levels during the day, but then failed to hold on to those gains, eventually ending the day flat. That's the Sensex absolutely flat, 7 points lower. The Nifty also closing flat, but in the red. The Nifty Bank, though, 200 points higher, and the Nifty Mid-Cap closing flat, but with a green tick. However, for the week, the markets have managed a healthy 2% upswing, and this takes the total gains over the last 2 weeks to 4%, making this the largest 2-week gain in the last 5 months. So good story there as far as the week is concerned. Prashant is standing by now to take us through the market action. Prashant, a week done, gains coming in for the week, volatile, and of course we're heading into a big week up ahead.
It was an interesting week, and I say that because the market did come up quite nicely after dithering, moving sideways and being largely lower. I mean, actually, the move started towards the middle of the previous week, and it kind of continued this week as well. So with a holiday in between, of course, you had, from last Friday to this Friday, the Nifty up 2%, the mid-cap, the Bank Nifty up about 1.6%. The mid-cap index was up a full 1%. The small-cap index, though, was down about 0.75%. So not very large changes, but a welcome relief. And of course, in the midst of all of this, we made a new all-time high. The Nifty hit 23,000 and so on and so forth. The Nifty Bank, of course, is still lagging. And, its date with that 50,000 mark, which is pretty close to its previous all-time high, still is pending. What else happened if we were to qualitatively look at this? So FII selling intensity reduced. And this especially towards the end of the week. On Thursday, there were buyers of some 4,600 crores. It's the largest number we've seen in the month of May. In 2024, just to give you context, FIs have sold now about 1.2 lakh crores in cash markets. They also cut their short positions in F&O, index futures, by half, and that's pretty large. All eyes, of course, on election results, 6 trading sessions away. Earnings season is in the fag end now, and by all account, looking at the full year number for FY25 and how that has changed, markets are on track for about a 15% earnings growth estimate. What were the big gainers? It was the PSU space. The index was up 6%. Metals are number 2 position with a 5% pop. You have the PSU a bank space, which was up 3.7. Autos as a space was up about 3% as well. Top gainers stock-wise, long list of defense names. Cochin Shipyard, Garden Reach, they're up on your screen. BDL, BEL, Mazgaon, HAL. I mean, anything between 15 and 25 to 30%. Hindustan Zinc, Sirma and Idea were some of the other large movers that you have. All in all, a pretty good week to end as we sort of wrap up this Friday. Back to you.
Yes, pretty good week. But as Prashant was pointing out, we're heading into a big week with counting day coming right up. But news just coming in. Adani Ports will be included in the Sensex from the 24th of June. Now, it will replace Wipro on the index. This was expected. This was a story that CNBC-TV18 had been tracking yesterday. It is now official. The Republican-controlled U.S. House of Representatives has passed a bill to ban the Federal Reserve from creating a central bank digital currency that was called the digital dollar. The decision was proposed by the House Majority Whip Tom Emmer as a CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act. It is a crucial amendment to the Federal Reserve Act, which governs America's central banking system. The amendment states, and I quote, "The Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and the Federal Open Market Committee may not use any central bank digital currency to implement monetary policy," end of quote. However, the bill has a long way to go before becoming law, as it needs to pass a vote in the Senate and also needs the President's assent. Tesla CEO Elon Musk has said he does not support U.S. President Joe Biden's recent announcement hiking tariffs on electric vehicles that are imported from China. Now, remember, the Biden administration has just hiked tariffs on China-made electric vehicles from 25% to 100%. Speaking at a conference in Paris, Musk said that Tesla competes quite well on its own without having to rely on tariffs or any other kind of differential support. He also said he does not support incentives for electric vehicles. Take a look.
Neither Tesla nor I asked for these tariffs. In fact, I was surprised when they were announced. Tesla competes quite well in the market in China with no tariffs and no differential support. In general, I'm in favor of no tariffs. I'm also actually in favor of no tax incentives for EVs, but provided that there are also the tax incentives for oil and gas must also be eliminated. So I'm in favor of no tariffs and no incentives for electric vehicles or for oil and gas. And if they're all taken away, I think that would be for the best.
A level playing field. That's Elon Musk on EVs. Sales of Tesla's Cybertruck in the US, by the way, seem to bear out Elon Musk's stance, even though the general EV market is slowing down. Data from the research firm Finbold indicates that in the first quarter of 2024, Tesla sold 2,800 Cybertruck units. That works out to an average of about 31 units per day in 2024. However, it should be noted that despite these numbers, Tesla is still far behind rival Ford in the electric pickup category in the US. Ford sold over 7,300 units in the first quarter. NP Singh will step down as the managing director and CEO of Sony Pictures India. In an internal mail to employees, Singh said that he will lead the organization until his successor is found, following which he will transition to an advisory role. Singh had joined the company in June of 1999 as its chief financial officer. Has been a long innings. The Hinduja Group has approached the National Company Law Tribunal seeking a 90-day extension to complete the resolution process of bankrupt Reliance Capital. It wants this window to begin from the 27th of May. The group has told the court it needs this time to secure a few regulatory approvals that are still needed. The NCLT will take up the case again on the 6th of June. Meanwhile, it has directed the Committee of Creditors to not take any coercive action against the Hindujas until the matter is disposed of. Leela Hotels, the luxury chain, is likely to go public this year. That's the word coming in from Brookfield Asset Management's managing partner, Ankur Gupta. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC-TV18, Gupta said that the company wants to make Leela Hotels a global brand, adding that Brookfield is very bullish on the housing space in India and is investing significant capital in the country. Take a look. How soon can we expect partners in the public market as far as the Leela story is concerned?
Look, if I'm allowed to talk about it, I would say the business is at that point where the growth that we are seeing will ensure that some amount of activity will happen sooner than later.
25?
2024 we are in, right?
Yeah. So I'm saying 2024 or 25?
No, I would always say that it's better to do things today than to wait for tomorrow.
Okay, so 24 then. Okay, that gives us clarity.
I think it's time that India creates its own luxury brand that's recognized world over. So that's something that we've been trying to do.
So that's the aspiration.
The aspiration is always been there.
And taking it global.
Yes, I would say that we've taken early steps towards it. And in a more methodical manner. Look, Brookfield is a global investor.
Yeah.
We invest in 30 countries. Our LPs come from all across the world. So today the recognition of Leela with the investor community is very high. The US commercial real estate space is $20 trillion. India is less than $500 billion right now. So there's a lot of real estate to be built and to be institutionalized. And we believe that as the largest real estate firm in the world, we have a big role to play in that space. The Bharti Group has endorsed taking units at 300 rupees a share, which is slightly below the net asset value. So on an accretion basis, it's still positive for unit holders, but it's significantly at a premium to the current spot trading price. So it shows the path for other investors that there's significant upside in our stock price of the REIT right now.
Well, that's Brookfield, bullish on Indian real estate. In earnings, Hindalco posting a strong Q4 performance aided by robust sales and low input costs. Hindalco's margins from its India business beating estimates. Meanwhile, higher shipments have boosted the metal major's aluminum business. The company's copper business beat street expectations on account of higher volumes. Mamaearth, the parent of Honasa Consumer, reported strong earnings in the fourth quarter. The company clocked its highest quarterly net profit of over 30 crore rupees as compared to a loss of 16 crores in the same quarter last year. The profit boost comes on the back of improved market share in the face wash and shampoo segment. Meanwhile, its EBITDA margins also improved by 780 basis points on a yearly basis. Ashok Leyland's fourth quarter performance in line with analyst expectations. This as the products in its medium and light commercial vehicle segments have witnessed strong demand growth. Net profit grew 20% when compared to last year despite a one-time loss of 70 crore rupees. However, revenues fell 3.1% on a year-on-year basis. The Supreme Court has refused to pass an interim order asking the Election Commission to disclose booth-wise voter turnout data. A plea was filed by the Association for Democratic Reforms, which asked for the Election Commission to publish the station-wise voting data on its website within 48 hours of concluding the poll for each phase. The Supreme Court, while saying that they would like to have a hands-off approach while elections are ongoing, also questioned the timing of the petition. Ashmit joins us now with the latest. Ashmit, take us through what the court has said in this matter.
Well, the big takeaway clearly is that the Apex Court not granting that interim relief that had been sought, not directing the Election Commission to start disclosing voter turnout data as per individual polling stations, saying that it will have a hands-off approach given that the elections are currently underway. Now, the Election Commission opened the arguments today, and even before going into the merits of the case, they questioned the maintainability of such a petition, saying that the petitioners in question, that's Association for Democratic Reforms and Mahua Moitra, have a history of filing applications that seek to cause chaos and confusion confusion with respect to the electoral process, that the Supreme Court needs to send out a strong message by dismissing these applications outright. Now, adding to these submissions, the Apex Court made some very pointed observations aimed at the petitioners. Firstly, asking as to why this application filed in 2019 is being pressed now in 2024. Also raising the technical question that the interim relief that has been sought is the same as the final relief that has been sought, and that is not permissible even in public interest litigation. Also going on to say that the Election Commission, of its own violation, voluntarily does release voter turnout data on its own application. It may not be entirely accurate, but does give a broad trend as to the way things are headed, and that this should in fact be welcomed by the petitioners. And finally going on to say that some amount of trust does need to be reposed in the authorities, and that the Apex Court will have a hands-off approach, given that of the 7 phases, 5 phases are already over, just 2 phases are left. So with that, the Apex Court refusing that interim relief and saying that this application will get taken up in due course, and that's after the summer vacations of the Apex Court.
All right, Ashmit, many thanks. Now, 58 seats across 8 states and union territories go to the polls tomorrow in the 6th phase of the Lok Sabha elections. These include all 7 constituencies in Delhi and all of the 10 seats in Haryana. Post this phase, 57 seats will vote in the final phase, which is June 1st. Parikshit standing by now. Parikshit, so who votes? What's the significance of this penultimate phase?
Well, over 11 lakh voters will be casting their votes in phase 6, Shireen. And yes, as you said, 58 seats are in the fray. The BJP won 40 last time around with a 47% vote share. So they gained a lion's share of the seats. The highest numbers actually coming from states like Haryana. Remember, they won all 10 seats in Haryana last time around. This was on the back of the Pulwama attack. There was considerable support for the Prime Minister and the BJP. This time around, the BJP is facing certain cracks in its alliance. They don't have an alliance with the JGP. It broke just a few weeks back. So there are questions whether the BJP can repeat that performance. Remember, in Haryana last time, the average winning margin was 350,000 votes. Some of the key fights that we're looking at is ML Khattar, who is standing from Karnal. He has been replaced as the Chief Minister of Haryana with Naib Singh Saini, and Manohar Lal Khattar has come to fight in Karnal. In Kurukshetra, you've got Naveen Jindal, the industrialist who has left the Congress and fighting on a BJP ticket this time around. So let's see how the protests against farm laws, the Agniveer scheme, actually impact the voting pattern. Here in Jammu and Kashmir, you've got Anantnag, Rajouri, which is going to polls, an important constituency which will decide the fate of 20 candidates, including Mehbooba Mufti, the president of the PDP. Let me come across to Uttar Pradesh right now. Now, constituency number 39, the green one that you see here, is Azamgarh. This used to be a bastion of the Samajwadi Party of Akhilesh Yadav, but it was won by the BJP. Dinesh Yadav of the BJP, and he's up against Samajwadi Party's Dharmendra Yadav this time around. So let's see how the fight, the Yadav versus Yadav fight in constituency number 39 of the Samajwadi Party of Azamgarh really plays out. There were 3 seats which were won by the Bahujan Samaj Party, actually 4. So let's see how they perform. You also have Sultanpur, where Maneka Gandhi is contesting from, 8 seats in West Bengal, also 4 seats in Jharkhand and Odisha. Let's not forget that all 42 assembly constituencies are going to polls in Odisha, along with 6 Lok Sabha constituencies. The fate of Sambit Patra is also at stake here in Puri. Let's see how the party performs in Odisha, where there's going to be a tough fight between the Biju Janata Dal, the Congress, and the BJP.
All right, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. So stay tuned to all the action right here. It's going to be a super Saturday as we bring you all the election action. High inflation and elevated interest rates have hurt credit offtake in rural India. CNBC-TV18 analysis shows that loan growth rates have declined in the second half of FY24. Microfinance institutions and small finance banks have also reported a rise in bad loans. Abhishek is standing by with more. Abhishek, what is the data telling us?
High inflation isn't a friend for the rural economy, and this is leading to pain in the rural sector, which has become visible over the past 2 quarters in the asset quality of lenders who are actually focused in the microfinance segment. And it's also showing up in the loan growth rate, which has declined in H2 FY24 versus the growth that they had in H2 FY23. Gross NPA of the lenders increased by more than 32% in H2 FY24 versus H1 FY24. This compares to a decline of 32.5% in H2 FY23 when compared to H1 FY23. This is surprising as H2 is usually a better half for the microfinance lenders. For 70% of the lenders, the gross NPA has increased anywhere between 22% to 124% in H2 FY24. ISAF SFB, their gross NPA increased by 124% in second half of FY24. Credit Access Grameen, a top-notch microfinance player, saw its gross NPA rise by more than 83% in second half of FY24. The rise in H2 FY24 NPAs compares to a decline in gross NPA for most of the lenders in H2 FY23, like Suryodaya Small Finance Bank and ISAF Small Finance Bank. They saw their gross NPA decline by more than 60% in H2 FY23 versus the number of H1 FY23. Credit Access Grameen too saw a sharp dip in its gross NPA by 34% in second half of FY23. Rise in NPAs has impacted the credit cost of the lenders and provisions have increased sharply for majority of them. Provisions increased by 8.5% in H2 FY24 when compared to the number of H1 FY24, largely in Q4 FY24, majority of the provisions have come in. Ujjivan Small Finance Bank provisions have increased by more than 94% in H2 FY24. ISAF Small Finance Bank, their provisions have increased more than 59% in second half of FY24. In H2 FY23, provisions for lenders has actually declined by more than 38% when compared to the number of H1 FY23. Citing Credit Care, Spandana Spurti had seen the provisions decline by more than 60% in second half of FY23. AUM growth rate has slowed down as well in H2 FY24 versus the growth rate that they had in H2 FY23. So H2 FY24 AUM growth of the lenders has been about 16.3% when compared to H1 number, and they had a growth rate of 22.8% in H2 FY23 versus the H1 of FY23. So growth rate has been impacted the most for Spandana Spurti, ISAF SFB and Equitas Small Finance Bank. The key takeaways are that high inflation and elevated interest rate may continue to impact the repayment in the microfinance loans. Some lenders are also showing high disbursements but lower loan growth, suggesting repayment issues. Hence, loan growth rate has started to slow down for majority of the lenders in the microfinance segment. Given this, pain in the asset quality can continue in the near future for small ticket loans.
Abhishek, many thanks for joining us. So microfinance lenders feeling some pain on account of the rural slowdown. Time for us to head into a break, but up next, a series of RTI replies reveals a rather grim picture when it comes to IIT placements. Around 8,000 students across 23 IIT campuses yet to find a job this year. That and more when we return. Well, let's talk about the jobs crisis across India's 23 IITs. Nearly 8,000 IITians are yet to find jobs in the IIT 2023-2024 placement drive. That is 38% of those students who registered to appear for campus placements. Archana is standing by with more. Archana, take us through what the jobs picture looks like across IIT campuses. And of course, this data comes in via the Right to Information Act. RTI is being filed. Take us through what the data is telling us.
Thank you, Shireen. In India, it's often said, "Ek baar IIT chale jao, life set hai." However, a series of RTIs filed by an ex-IITian reveal a grim picture. The big headline is that 7,957 students across 23 IITs have yet to be placed in the 2023-24 session. Our team at CNBC-TV18 tried to dig deeper to understand why India's premier educational institutions are grappling with the job crisis. Now, IIT Madras has acknowledged that job offers have indeed dried up, especially from startups. For example, 85 startups made 183 offers in this year's placement, which is down by about 50% as compared to last year. If we talk about the overall India picture, as revealed by these RTIs, which have been filed by an ex-IITian, the drop in job placements is almost twice the number of students who were not placed in 2023 and more than double the number of 2022. The big question, why aren't these IITians getting jobs. Now, experts believe that there are not enough new jobs in the market. IT companies like Wipro and Infosys have already frozen their new campus hiring. They used to hire about 20% of the students per year. Even global companies are limiting their job offers due to AI and machine learning. Moreover, there's an overall drop in job offers in streams like mechanical, chemical, metallurgical, and civil engineering. Now, how much money are these IITians making this year? The median CTCs offered to these students this year is about 17 lakhs per annum. Now, critics say, and this is the most important part, that most of these IITs are masking the problem by hard selling the few crore rupee packages, but ignoring the main problem at hand. And aside of the drop in these placements, the spotlight is back on the poor mental health of students at IITs. Many students succumb to the stress and pressure of placements. There's anxiety and depression that's widely prevalent in these IITs. The rising case of suicides among IITians is also one of the reasons why these RTIs were filed in the first place. Earlier this month, an RTI revealed that 115 students have died in the last 20 years due to anxiety and depression. The situation is really bad, and it's so bad that some students are now being forced to take up job offers below 6 lakh rupees per annum, as companies are revoking job offers at the last minute. Now, how are the IITs coping with the placement crisis? Well, they are reaching out to companies and their alumni networks to get the remaining students placed. It's important to note that the absolute number may slightly vary as the placement season at IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, IIT Kharagpur and IIT Madras usually begins in December, while other IITs start earlier in August, September. It's still underway in some places. My colleague Jude Sanet spoke to Professor Satyan Subhya, who's a placement advisor at IIT Madras, and he acknowledged that about 20% students are yet to be placed and the job offers from startups have also come down. Take a look.
As of now, we have placed about 80% of students, and we are on track to get 90% of BTech. So that remaining 10% or 20% students, yes, they are left to be unplaced. They still have to be placed, sorry. And because of the number of increased number of admissions that we have had, that percentage translates to a significant number of students. The companies who typically come the previous years, they make more number of offers at the high package level. They have just made less number of offers. They have not reduced the salary per se. That's part of the reason why our average and median salaries have stayed the same. So they have made the same salary offers, but they have made less number of it. Compared to last year, if you look at the numbers from last year and this year, we've had a less number of startups who have come, and they have made less number of offers as well. So it looks like the startup has been affected. So they are sort of being, I would say, a little bit more cautious in terms of hiring.
Well, large companies as well as startups are holding back on significant hiring. That is what is hurting job offers at this point in time, including on IIT campuses. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. More news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. We're back in a minute with more.